Hey there, this is Erica from Ever Educating, and this channel is usually teaching tips, tools, ideas, and resources for new college instructors. But 6 months ago, I had a series of 3 videos talking about my transition from college instructor to instructional design. And so it's been 6 months since I've been on the job, and so I thought I'd have a video about what I think are the top 5 skills if you're someone who wants to transition from teaching into instructional design. So I'll link those other 3 videos below in case you're interested, but let's talk about these top 5 skills. So I'm actually going to go from the number 5 to number 1 skill. And in my case, I'm an associate instructional designer. So that means I'm putting course designing as skill 5. Because in my case, I always design with a partner, or at least have backup to some extent when designing my courses. So yes, having experience in course design, having a sense of scaffolding, different types of design structures, all that's important. But to me, it's definitely not the most important part of my work. Because again, I'll have that partner there to help me out as needed. Obviously, the faculty has usually taught before, so they have experience to bring to the table as well. So definitely having a good sense of different structures, like backwards design, is important. But I wouldn't say, like, if you can't have perfection in course design, don't even bother trying. Like, it's just a skill to have, but I don't think it's the most important one going into your work. Number 4 is the ability to communicate well with faculty. So in this case, I'm used to being the one who designed and taught my own courses as a college instructor. Now, when you become an instructional designer, now you have the subject matter expert or the future instructor there with you, designing the course with you. And so being able to communicate with them clearly, consistently, having a good relationship build, trust, transparency, all these things are really important, because if you and your faculty or your subject matter expert don't get along well or have troubles making clear what you're each trying to say, that becomes a very stressful situation in designing your courses. So I definitely think if you're someone who has worked with faculty a lot, or you're someone who's always gone to your colleagues to discuss their design versus your design, that's something to emphasize in interviews, that you have the skills, you have the ability to clearly communicate with faculty to help them make their course the best it can be. So that's definitely a skill that I use all the time. In a similar vein, but somewhat different, collaboration. The ability to collaborate is going to be essential to your role. Because not only do you have, again, the subject matter expert that you're going to be working with, but likely you'll have coworkers that you design with as well. So unless you have a very general position, you might be the person designing the course, but then someone's in charge of developing the more techie elements of it. And someone's in charge of doing quality assurance on it. And someone's in charge of whatever the case may be. And so you're going to be communicating with various coworkers along with the faculty in order to create these courses. And so the ability to collaborate with others is just so key here, right? You want to make sure that you're a good active listener, that you're someone who's willing to bring up your own ideas but listen to other ideas as well, that you are okay being flexible when it comes to scheduling, that you can get a good sense of how someone else prefers to communicate or their quirks, and that you have your own quirks and you can share them well, So basically, being able to collaborate in a way that emphasizes the teamwork versus making the teamwork harder, okay? So that's definitely an important skill for this role. I'm putting number 2 as learning technology skills. So depending on what job you get, what company you work for, or what school, there will be different tools that you'll be using in your work. So the ability to quickly learn new tools is really key. So being able to say, okay, I'll be using Articulate 360. I know how to approach studying it, researching it to make sure that I have the tools I need as soon as possible. Or maybe you're on the job market and the job ad says, we use Camtasia, or whatever the case may be. See if you can get a free trial. Start practicing with it. Get those skills so when you go on the interview, you can really emphasize, oh yeah, I've already started learning how to use this. Here, I created this sample for my portfolio if you want to see it. So having the ability to quickly learn tech is going to be essential. Like in my case, I'd never coded before in my life, but then working with HTML is a really important part of my current role. So being able to prove that I can learn quickly on the job was very important. But it started with being able to make clear that I'm someone who's open to learning, who's open to investing myself in a new tool and learning it as soon as possible. And the most important skill by far and away is project management. So yes, I taught 2-3 courses a semester when I was an instructor. In some of those years, I was teaching 2 courses and taking 3 courses and also doing other stuff on the side. So, as a academic, you probably spend a lot of time multitasking. But this was a whole new level for me because it was very much keeping everything organized because, again, there's that collaborative element. As an instructor, I was in charge of my whole course, so I didn't have to make sure that somebody else was aware of what was going on. But in this case, I have to have detailed notes, but I also have to make sure that when I go through and I'm working on multiple courses for different partners, for different faculty, okay, who's teaching what course, where are we currently at in the process, what do I need to work on with other partners on my team, what stage are we at with this thing? Like, there's just so many moving parts. And so the ability to manage that is very, very essential. So if you have, again, if you're interviewing for a position like this one, instructional design, if you have experience with, oh yeah, I taught 5 courses a semester and 3 of them were different and 2 of them were 2 sections of the same. And when I was doing that, I was also writing an article for publication, and I was part of the leadership team for the writing program, and so on and so forth. So proving that you are someone who had to manage a lot of projects at once and you have experience with it is going to be, in my case, really important, in my opinion. Because that's the one skill that I work on constantly in my new role. So yes, I'm learning about all types of technology in my role. I'm learning how to be a better collaborator. I'm learning how to communicate with the client, right, with the faculty, to make sure I'm being clear and I'm being as helpful as I can be, but also making sure we're staying on a deadline. There's so many of those other skills that are important, but when it comes down to it, can you manage everything that is required with this role? And if you can, that's going to be something that you really want to emphasize when you're interviewing for this position. What proof do you have in the past that shows that you're up for this challenge? So those, again, are the 5 skills that I think are the most important 6 months in here. If you want more of this kind of content about instructional design and the role in it versus actual theory behind it, let me know in the comments below. And click like if you found this video helpful. I'll see you next time.